This was requested, and I figured it would be kind of fun to go over kind of how and why I break down the shapes I do when I do my stained glass digital works. So yeah, we'll go ahead, and I basically assembled a little bit of examples here. There we go. So first off, I want to talk about kind of the level of detail, because I feel like there is such a huge variation from things like these. I selected some butterflies. These are all basically images that came up in Google search when I searched for stained glass, and almost all of these were just things available on Amazon. So that's where I just pulled the references from. But this one you can see is a very simple shape. It's basically made out of 4 panels, one for each wing, and the detail on this one is actually wire that has been soldered on over top. So the glass is not broken into these shapes. These swirls are decorative on top of a single panel. Where these little guys are indeed actually broken into, it looks like about 4 or so pieces per wing. That one's got 6. So these are very simplified shapes. They're very, very basic. They're just kind of, these ones just convey the shape of the wing over here. And then these ones sort of convey the different segments of the wing. So you can kind of make out the top half, the bottom half. So they're, you know, all within a very simplistic realm of shapes. So you don't necessarily have to do overly detailed works for them to look good. And we'll just kind of continue up the ladder here. I can't see in the detail here around the edge, unfortunately, to make out what's going on with that. But this one's just kind of even more one step further than the ones above. It's got the abdomen sectioned out. You've got pieces in the wing that are looking more life accurate to a monarch butterfly or something of that sort in this one, where it's very much so mimicking the actual patterns. And then moving to this one where you've got kind of the same thing. I think maybe these are roughly the same detail level. You just can't really see in these outer wings here. But, you know, you can add or subtract different detail, depends on what you want to sort of be the focus, or what shapes you want to exemplify and underline. So it has a lot of room for you to express yourself, the more you have to work with. And then you've got an even more extreme example is this guy. I thought was really neat. Once again, I believe just another thing that was available on Amazon. And this one actually goes one step further, and it has a bunch of intricate designs like roses and flowers in the wings, in addition to it being, you know, your general butterfly shape with some butterfly patterns involved. So, you know, it's just a reminder that art can be as hard or, you know, as easy as you'd like. And I think it's really, really good to make kind of diversity if you're doing a larger piece, because you can use the different levels of detail to kind of bring in more stuff. This butterfly is such a good example of it. There's one step further on the detail level than even this, and it's actually one I think is pretty important to point out. So in a lot of other big kind of classic like cathedral stained glass works, you'll notice that their face and some of these details in here are not fully sectioned out. So this is a case where, here, let me go ahead and grab we'll make this just a little bit fainter, and I'm gonna grab this in a red so you can see what I'm doing. But I'm just gonna trace around the lead real quick so you can see that this whole top section of the baby, her hand, and her face, this is all one segment of glass in this little wiggly, chunky shape right here. That is because all of that has been painted on top of that panel of glass. So it's the same thing with the cherubs up here. They're not actually fully segmented. They kind of have this little shape here. Oops, I drew that on the wrong layer. They just kind of have the shape of the head with the wings here. So they're kind of simplified out. And the face and the hair, all of that is painted on. So it is not divided down into all of these little extra pieces. So that is something to consider, especially since digital art is flexible. So, you know, if you want to play around with it, do it. There are no hard and fast rules. So if you're having trouble breaking a face down to be simplified shapes and still look like a face, you can consider that this is a real life example. Hello, Bootsy. Welcome in. All right. So, and then on that front are these butterflies I found where some of the details, it looked like have been done in paint or an enamel on the outer edge of the wings. So again, a spot where fine detail has been substituted for adding it on top of the glass panel in paint. So real life examples of, you know, different variety in stained glass itself. So there's lots of room to find things you enjoy. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna put the detail folder away. And we'll talk about textures real quick, because this is actually what brought me to do stained glass work in the first place digitally, was I thought the texture of the glass is just so fun. You not only have stuff like this where it's sort of the dimples and the texture of the glass itself, but actually what I learned while I was putting all this together for you guys, look at that, I put time and research in, is that it's called, if I can pronounce it, and find my folder, there we go, Baroque, which is the sort of texture and the marbleized color that you see in some of the glass. So I had no idea that that's what that was even called, but it is what I'm absolutely drawn to when I do these works, and what I'm trying my best to capture when I'm working digitally. So here I have some real life panels of glass. Once again, these are off Amazon. You can go and buy these and score them and break them and make them into physical stained glass. So this is the material that I'm trying to replicate. And as you can see, while it's on the wood grain, it almost has that similar kind of wood grainy texture to it. It's got some marbleization. It's got variation between light and dark, and those ones are fairly monotone. This one right here, you've got sort of your yellow and your red mixed. So you've got this very fiery kind of color combo, and it's so nice. This one you've got a little bit of pink and blue marbled together. So you don't have to just have your chunks and your panels of color be one flat color. You can play with sort of mixing in some of these tones. And I believe if I pull up my... we'll zoom in on that one in a minute. So that's kind of what I'm trying to get in on some of these. I've done really bad at trying to keep the color palettes like directly adjacent. So like I've got a lighter kind of cyan and a darker, is it cyan or cayenne? Is cayenne the pepper and cyan the color? I don't know. Huh. I know what I'm gonna go find out after this. So anyways, I feel like maybe sort of in the flowers where I got some more purpley tones into my blues, and maybe the orangey to the darker darker shades of brown are kind of neat, but I feel like I really struggled to find the boldness that I think is so pretty in some of the textures. But it does fall in line in sort of these more like monotone, monochromatic, I guess. Although I do notice that most of these are basically monochromatic, and then you just have a few of them that have those accented colors. So maybe I'll do that where maybe most of my colors are all one, and then say we'll go back to this example with my with mine. I'll just pick maybe like one of the color variations to have it be a little spicier, so maybe it would stand out. I think that'll be fun. I like dissecting and digesting stuff like this because it gives me a moment to see like where things are at and reflect on it and what I want to bring into my art style and what I do not. And I just love it. I'm so glad I can stream it and share it with you, and I'm sorry if the format's goofy, but I'm not sorry because this is what I'm passionate about, and this is how I like sharing it. I like sitting down and talking. So, basically, like, oh gosh, this stuff is like my favorite, where you've got this sort of rich orangey tones into the yellow, and these are just so pretty. Like you've got some yellow mixed in with the blue for like this nice sky color, but then you also have where it gets over here to like a darker blue purple with the blue. And I just think that that's just so beautiful, and that's basically what I'm trying to capture in one of the textures. So a few ways I try to capture the textures is essentially we've got a few different ways. The way I do it is essentially I will oh wow, I don't have that actually demonstrated. So I take a texture like this, which is this is a frosted glass one. This is one I got from the Clip Studio Asset Store, I believe, and this is one that was available on Google search when I looked for glass textures. And there's all kinds of resources that you can look for and find, and I think that that's maybe the main point of my little presentation here today, is that references are wonderful. You learn so much and you bring so much in, and it's very enriching. So I did I looked around, and some other people have also done some stuff, and I was looking at maybe some other things that I might try. And I've seen someone do stained glass where they did sort of this crystalline texture behind, and I thought that looked really pretty. And then I was thinking, as I was looking at this, that some of this feels sort of like a wood grain to me, as I was looking on it at the table behind. So I tried to find a sort of wood grain texture to maybe start with, and then I might distort that and see how it goes. As well as I found this Ice and Snow material catalog, once again on Clip Studio Paint, because I liked this kind of, there's kind of like a weird glossy texture I thought might look good for the frosted glass. So you've basically got two parts to the texture, and the two parts are the glass texture that make it look like it's glass here. Oh. I should maybe put my arrows over. So you've kind of got that frosted glass kind of thing, and then you've got this kind of wood grain texture, which is what you're seeing on the flower petals. So I'm going to try to kind of capture a little bit of both. The one thing I really like about this one was available on Etsy, and I'll see about finding the shop and putting it in the credits later or something. But it's if you look for stained glass stuff on Etsy, that's all that I did. And there's some beautiful stuff on there. It's well worth checking out. And this one in particular, what I liked is that it's got a mix of the sort of just almost a transparent glass in the two different textures. So you've got the one there that's dimpled, but then you kind of have this one here that's more like a ridge or a gridded pattern. So even though it's both like transparent glass, it has two different feels just from the texture, which is really, really neat. And then again is the Baroque or the blend and texture that comes from the glass itself and the pigments in the glass. So there's various ways to try to capture that, and yeah, we'll definitely play around with that. I think that is the most fun part. The worst part is probably finding the shapes and how to break them down, which is, I believe, where one of the questions that I got directed my way. So this one, I think this is like from OfferUp. It was in Minneapolis. I was like, oh, I love the texture on her tail, and just it's broken down in a really fun way. Although I do feel like the dolphin kind of gets lost. Probably because its form and its shape are in the same kind of flow as this. So like if the dolphin were elsewhere, or if it were slightly off from that curve, I feel like it would stand out a little better. But it's also like, it's fine as is. It's cool. But her figure itself is what I think does a really good job of sort of breaking up. You can tell the face, you can tell the arm, and you can tell the tail very, very clearly. Both with the color of the glass and just with the breaks and the shapes themselves. So if you look at how the background is coming along this way horizontally, and one of the reasons she stands out is because she is vertical. She's going perpendicular to what the background is, so that just lends to her being more visible. And I believe I try to do a little bit of this. So like intentionally, if I have this line going down for her arm, that's why I liked the roses fitting here, because these are going in a different direction. So it creates a divide just because this is a vertical shape and the background is more horizontal. And when you're dealing with these kind of broken down abstract shapes, having something like that to separate visually, it helps immediately recognize. Basically, it's why it's easy to see the mermaid and it's harder to see the dolphin. The gray is close to the blue, the white stomach is close to the white here. It might light up differently, like up to the window, but even then, the shape of the dolphin is sort of parallel, even though it's in a curve. It's still parallel in the curve to this sort of wave or water motion going on in the background. So the dolphin sort of gets lost in that. And if the dolphin were placed maybe further up over here, or over here where he could be, in a different shape or something, it would break it up more and you'd be able to pick the dolphin out faster. But as is, it does a really good way of demonstrating that with the figure of the mermaid, and you're immediately drawn to that first. So that one I thought was a pretty cool example, because it was really hard to find examples that weren't AI, which is unfortunately what this next one is, but it helps sort of identify the difference between main shapes and internal shapes, because when you are doing digital stuff, you can kind of get away with more. But AI generated art is awful, and it's horrible to use for a reference because while it looks pretty, it doesn't always demonstrate the principles of what you're trying to learn very well. So I would learn from real life examples and then, maybe take inspiration from, but mostly I just wanted to point out on this one the way the wing has been broken down into different shapes, and we'll just kind of go over that real quick. Is it easier to see? No, we'll stick with the same one. So you've kind of got the main shape of the bird, and you've got the wings, and then you just kind of have the divide in the wings. So where this is AI and it gets kind of lost entirely is on some of the other ones. These details have been kind of drawn on top, instead of being because if you were trying to make this out of like actual stained glass, it would be ridiculous, because you would have to cut and hold each of these in place. It would be a lot of work because each of these have to match up exactly so that you can solder them together. So like it would be highly impractical to make this physically. And that's where, like, if you're trying to draw something to then turn around and actually make a stained glass piece with it, you're gonna frustrate yourself. But if you're just staying in the realm of doing digital art, it's probably not gonna ruin anything, because you're not gonna have to fiddle around with 1,000 pieces and remember which one goes where next to which one fitting how. Like, this is, if you did something like this, it would have to be on a pretty large scale, or you'd have to be a madman. But it's fun that you can kind of go outside of those boundaries in digital medium. So I will encourage that you don't necessarily have to stick to the main rules, but I do think it's good to study real life examples before taking any inspiration from AI art. So on that note, let's go ahead and take a look at some AI art examples and maybe why they're bad and what not to do, and where they fall apart. This is why I don't think you should learn from AI, is what I'm saying. Don't base everything solely on this. So let's start with this little mushroom image here. So one of my favorite parts about stained glass is how it breaks stuff down into shapes, right? And it kind of grasps that a little bit. I mean, except for this butterfly here, that is some sort of atrocity. But when you start looking at these internal pieces here, oh, you can't see. These internal pieces here they look good because they look like a mushroom, right? But they don't look good because they don't really look like stained glass. Maybe this segment over here kind of works, but when you start looking at stuff like this, it's not lead, it's not divided pieces. Those are like trailing off. There's another one up here that kind of goes nowhere, and it doesn't really make sense. That wouldn't work for like physical stained glass. And same thing with all of this stuff down here. It's sort of detail that's tedious and impossible. And all of this stuff looks like it would be segments that are broken down and then maybe painted in, because you cannot get this level of detail in stained glass. And so there I feel like it starts to fall apart and lose the medium entirely, what it's trying to imitate. And that brings me to this next example over here, which is let's zoom out and see what it looks like from further back, right? It looks pretty cool. Looks like stained glass. That looks really gorgeous from back here, right? And this is where I think maybe you could take some, like, concepts from stuff, but break it down yourself. The unfortunate thing is a lot of these images have been stolen from artists and are, like, horribly regurgitated. Like, you might as well just go find the original artists and, you know, look at stuff. Because, like, if you're trying to learn how to do stained glass, what are you learning from this if this is what you're going to go look at? I had to comb through so much AI stuff to find the examples that I wanted. In addition, like, you can find a lot of the basic stuff, but if I couldn't find it on Amazon or on Etsy, it was a generated image, and I'm really frustrated that the reference image pool is being flooded by bad references. Because, like, this one, where there's not even actually a figure once I zoom in. It kind of almost looks like there's someone standing here. Like, maybe a face with some hair and, like, a shoulder and an arm. Like, from further back, my brain kind of fills in a figure there. And same with this one. That almost looks like, you know, a person. This one looks pretty good. This one I'm not really sure. Maybe it's like a duck on a branch. But when you zoom in, like, there's not even actually... You wouldn't learn from this what we learned from, like, the cathedral piece where you have segments painted on and stuff. This one doesn't even know how to segment out anything, and all of this is a garbled mess. Like, once you start actually looking at all of this, it has no concept of how to break the shapes down whatsoever. And, like, some of it looks really pretty or would work partially for inspiration, but, like, this is real rough, and I would not try to learn from AI art. Maybe pull reference later down the road if you're, like, stuck for ideas or inspiration, but, like, don't. All the AI art generated looks kind of the same. It all has that quote-unquote AI art look. So if you start using AI art heavily for reference, you're gonna be lost in a pool of what everybody else can prompt and generate in no time. So you may as well learn how to do it yourself and cultivate your own way of doing it and your own style, rather than joining the flood of superficial nothingness. Art is communicating feeling, and I feel like it can kind of get the gist of things, but when you try to really break it down, you know, there's no significance to anything. And I think that, like, when you look at good stained glass, it's bold, it's gorgeous, it's cohesive, it's thought out. Like, AI art is just spat out garbage, and it's like the total opposite of this medium, because so much time has to go into making sure that all of these pieces are planned out, that they're going to fit together. You have to keep track of them, which way they fit, and they all have to be gently, like, ground down and wrapped in lead and soldered together, and the whole thing is such an intentional process that the pure chaos of the AI art just cannot even. So that concludes my little horrible PowerPoint here, but I will say that I'm gonna go ahead and try to apply some of this to a little mushroom or something. We'll do a little oh, I don't need that. That was making sure my stuff was calibrated. Always calibrate your tools. Always. You'll be real frustrated when they're out of calibration and you don't know why. So I want to do just something like simple, maybe like a mushroom. If there is something you guys would like to suggest, that's sort of a... Keep it basic, keep it simple. I don't want to do anything too wild or time consuming, but if you have any if you have any basic shapes or small things that you'd like to see how I might break them down, if you throw those in chat right now, I'll take a look and we'll see. I might do one or two depending. So I just want to make a little funky guy. I'm just gonna focus on the kind of external shape, because I'm not gonna make this a full piece. I'm gonna make this like a little freestanding guy. So I won't bother with like a frame or a background or anything like that. I just kind of want to feel out a fun little mushroom guy. And then we'll start breaking them up into some shapes. All right, so we'll do something like that. I love the little weird fold down like ring that's at the bottom of fungus. So probably something along these lines. Where do I want to shape it out? Zoom it out, try again. I'm gonna play around with the shape. I want it to be really satisfying. I haven't drawn in a minute. I have, but I haven't. There's been a lot going on, so I've been away from ye old tablet. So we're kind of getting recalibrated too. I don't like this. I have one in my sketchbook I liked, but I don't know where my... Oh! Is it the sketchbook? Is it the sketchbook? A fun guy fungi. It is me mushroom! Yes! Sorry. I have like 1,000 sketchbooks. I keep one in my purse and one in this bag, and then I have my big one, and then I have like the backup one for when I lose the travel one. So I really did feel pure excitement right there that I was like, wait, I think that is the sketchbook, and it was! All right. Oh, yeah, because this is a good little mushroom guy. And I really do, I want to do, yeah, yes, I will. Sorry, if you're new to my streams, I'm new to YouTube, but I'm not new to streaming, and there's a rule. And the rule is Skuttz does what she wants. So, what I want is this mushroom, and we're gonna do it. Discord, where did you do? All right. Sorry, I'm sending myself the image on Discord, and Discord recently updated their mobile app, which is, infuriating to say the least. I love it when I know what to do, and I'm frustrated when I don't. I'm getting old. I just want my technology to stay the same. No, just kidding. I just want updates that make sense. Where are we now? We're going to Discord. Gonna go to Discord, get my mushroom. All right, copy image. We have the mushroom. All right, let's go ahead and drop it on here. Whee! Oh, it's huge. Mushroom's really big. All right, look at that. I love it. All right. So I wonder how much of this I don't know why why is my mushroom leaking? All right, so maybe I'll get rid of the drippy part at the bottom, but yeah, I like this. We'll take this and try to simplify this image. So first off, I'm going to sort of, yeah, let's do a rough sketch. So try to figure what shapes I want to keep. So this kind of actually has a lip on it. Oh, that's why I like it. I like its little, I don't know. Once in a while, there's just sketches, and they're just the best ones ever. It doesn't need a reason. I drew this in like, uh-oh, when? Yeah, all the way back when I was trying to do the Drawtober challenge when I first started my YouTube. So 2 years ago. I drew this mushroom 2 years ago? Well, it's a damn good mushroom. I remembered about it 2 years later, and I needed it, and it was there for me. It's the best mushroom. All right. Sorry, we're now partially out of the educational portion and into the gremlin portion. I'm sketching this slow as... yeah. I am definitely feeling rusty. My hand is stiff. If my hand is stiff, my mushroom will be stiff. Alright, so let me try. I'm gonna try to warm up my hand actually. Let's do this real quick. This is legit. I'm not even fucking kidding. When I'm like, oh, you should draw spirals and you should, you know, like, this is shit I legitimately do. Like, sometimes just scribbling and getting my joints warmed up. I'm old now. The ripe old age of 33. And I have to actually make sure that my wrist and my hands are happy to draw. So sometimes if you're struggling, just remember maybe you need to warm up. Get the rust out. Ah, I can feel that feels so much better just getting my wrist muscles stretched. All right. Let's see if I can do this faster. Try to do it in fewer lines. Kind of like worried about keeping the integrity of my original sketch, but the original sketch also isn't going anywhere, so if I want to reference it later, I can. So, alright, yeah, that feels better. Just gotta loosen the old goose. Gotta stretch your fingers. Even just a few seconds of like doodling can really just help my hand kind of warm up. Because if you're not doing nice fluid shapes, then you're not going to have nice fluid art. If your hand's not warmed up, it's not going to make those motions as easily. So it's underappreciated, but it's very much so just like how athletes have to warm up before a sporting event so they don't like injure themselves. You gotta warm up your wrist. So this part will be interesting. I don't know what I want to do. Maybe I should add some grass instead. Because I don't... Unless I want to just keep the melting mushroom. I don't know. I don't know why my mushroom was melting. Maybe we'll just stick with it. You know? Did it need a reason? I was feeling it. Maybe we're all just melty little fungi. I don't know. You don't know? You have a lot of rust. Alright. I like that. I like that. We can work with this. We can work with this. Alright. So, I'm just gonna start with this gonna sketch here, and then I'm gonna think about, I'm already kind of thinking about it. So I'll make this one bigger, this one smaller. You want some variation. You don't want everything the same size. That's another thing I feel like the AI art really does poorly, is just makes everything like exactly like consistent, the same. And it's like, it's lacking the artistic eye to kind of break stuff up where it looks good. I also don't know if I want to try to do some of this like it's painted in. So, All right, I like that. So I'm trying to make sure some of my shapes are... All right, so if you look at like an actual mushroom, they're pretty consistent, right? The little ribs on the underside are like just boom, boom, boom. They're nonstop. Gills? Are they gills? I think they're called gills. Anyways, sometimes you'll have like little variations where they like have like wiggles in them, or, you know, some of them aren't as perfect as other ones, but they're still pretty like small and close. So I'm gonna try to get like maybe some of the wiggly bits in here in some of these. See how it looks. Might end up taking it out later. But the other thing is that this isn't visually interesting because it's just consistent, other than like this little wiggle. So when you're trying to break stuff up in the stained glass, it looks better if instead of having like everything broken up into consistent wedges, it's more sort of... So there's repetition. I'm trying to remember what the opposite of it. So repetition is when something is like a repeated shape and it's utilized over and over again. But the same way that there's symmetry and asymmetry, like there's repetition and then there's when things break repetition. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on that one right now. But that is what we want to do. So you want to have like a big chunk and then maybe like a small chunk and then maybe a slightly larger chunk, but it breaks it up and makes it more visually interesting. Maybe we want to have like two small chunks right next to each other and then, you know, sort of the larger one. It creates visual interest instead of having everything just be the same size. So like right here, I kind of do a bad job where I think these are kind of consistently the same size, but I can always play with that later when I get to the phase where I'm adding the line work. I don't like that either. So it's kind of just playing around with stuff and seeing what feels good to you and what's something that you think looks good. And that's what brings your uniqueness to your art, is what you specifically think looks cool isn't going to necessarily be what everybody else thinks is cool. And it's why art is subjective and why it's so... I think it's so difficult to be an artist, because not everybody is going to like what you make. But if you let that dictate what you make, then you're only going to make the same thing everybody else is making. And you can't find that new thing. You know, it's the explorers who do weird stuff that come up with the next trends, not the people who are copying all the things that are already being done. Those are existing trends. And it's weird. I'm not saying that I'm a trendsetter by any means, but I think not caring about trends means that I don't know. You know what? I am a trendsetter. I dyed my hair blue than everybody else did. Yep, that definitely is what happened. But it's, I don't know. I guess I've always kind of been someone who's just kind of done stuff to my own my own beat. I've never really needed validation for my art from anyone else because I make art for me. The closest I get is maybe now that I do commission work, that I would like validation from my customer that they enjoy the work that they got. Because if I don't, then I do worry that I did not deliver on my service. And so, you know, I think that's completely different though. I'm not worried about approval or anything. It's just worrying about doing a good job. So, I'm gonna see if we can start with this and make this into something. So let's think about the, we kind of worked on the shapes. That's kind of the first thing we already have going, right? The shapes and the detail. We're kind of at like a mid-level of detail, like at the middle butterflies there. This could be more simplistic, but it could also be more complicated. And so I'm going to start a new layer. I'm actually going to put my layer inside a folder so I don't accidentally merge my line art to my sketch. And I'm going to just go ahead and try to start playing the shapes, playing around with the shapes and seeing what I like. So I want to find a good thickness. So there's kind of two ways to go about this. You can do where everything's kind of the same thickness because in real stained glass, it's basically two edges of glass that have been wrapped. And then they are soldered together when they have been placed side by side. And so everything's kind of the same thickness. That's kind of what I try to bring to my work. And what I don't really like about the AI art is that it makes the inside lines thinner, which is not how stained glass would work unless they were intentionally making the external soldering chunks thicker, which I believe could be possible. I haven't really seen too many real examples of stained glass that have looked like this, though. I'd be curious if anyone has any otherwise. I actually got... The more I spent time trying to find real examples of intricate stained glass, and the more I struggled with just finding a flood of AI art, it really got me thinking about the difference between the two. And mostly it comes down to just not... Like, AI art just doesn't have context. So it's really interesting. So I'm gonna just start with the external shape of the mushroom here, but I kind of want to go like this, and I'm gonna make this part of, I want it to look like it's a lip or like 3D, and then I'm gonna kind of bring it in here. So I just follow the flow of the fucking shapes. I'm trying my best to figure like how to explain what I just did here. So I'm trying to make everything flow together. So if I just have the outside shape that starts to go, and I fill it all the way around, I just have kind of the cap of the mushroom, and I feel like at that point it's harder for me to... I just break the shapes down in what it looks like I should, but at this point I can kind of see beyond that. So I'm like, okay, what if I make this look like maybe it's curling up? If I hate it, I just start a new layer and I start over. There's no... like, I think people get so caught up in stuff looking good that they forget that sometimes when you experiment, stuff is going to look bad. And when you make a few bad things, you can find some cool things that might not have been found otherwise. So, you know, you got to break a few eggs to make an omelet or something. Man, I'm hungry. So I just like to kind of join the shapes around, and I've swept it in to kind of be the gill on the underside so that the shape kind of feels cohesive. And then I filled in the other gills right there. And now I'm going to kind of continue on the top of the mushroom, and I'll come back around to the gills later. So it's kind of got a little funky dip, and it goes up. I don't care if it's exactly like my line work or not. I just want it to be capturing the spirit. And you can do this with the vector tool. I imagine that would also be pretty easy. Easy in air quotes. Let me see. So it's more like, what? Oh, it was on transparent. So it'd be more like this. It's still on why are you transparent? Excuse me? Huh? Continuous curve. What if I do this one? No, that's switch corner. This should be drawing it. I've selected. Now you work. Okay. I wasn't... I don't know what was happening. All right. So let's see. I was on a 25, size 25 brush. So you can also just use this. It also probably gives you a more consistent line. I just really don't like using the vector brush. Is it my downfall? Maybe. Do I care? I don't know. If everybody tells me I should use the vector brush, I'm like, maybe I don't wanna. But this actually works just fine, so we'll do a few of these like this. These are mostly straighter edges. So I'm gonna have this kind of divot up and over. And then I can close the shape. Oh, I don't like that though. Oh no, it all went away. I don't really like going back and fiddling with these. I think it's so, how do I add one? Yeah. It's so fiddly. It can be nice, but I don't know. It depends on what you're doing, and it's one of those things, I think that's preference. Because I feel like that took both more and less time. And like these are just such short lines. So I'm gonna actually go and do another gill up through that as the divide instead of using the top of the mushroom. I try to find sort of other, like where the end of something can be kind of artificially joined into something else, I think is what makes it look really fluid. So I'm gonna try to see if I can just do like one of the wiggly ones over here. I love how I don't give, I've got the sketch underneath and I'm like, it's a suggestion. And honestly, this is how I do it. Like, I just kind of try stuff, and if I don't like it, I don't keep it. So, yeah, no, that doesn't look right. So I'll worry about, like, cleaning up tiny parts and, like, rough edges and stuff later. I just kind of want to keep making this look like a little mushroom. Oh, okay. I see what's going on. So this wiggly one I did too high, and it's making it look funny. So I'm going to go back a little bit further, and I'm going to try doing the wiggly one down here going up, and do a wiggle from here and go down. And then see if I can still keep these smaller. I don't know if I like the way that looks. I don't. I like that part though. Alright, so I'll leave that and I'll come back to it. So the gills are definitely the hardest part because they're by far the most detailed. So I feel like that makes a lot of sense just from where we are coming at stuff. So I'm gonna do the parts I know I like for sure. And then I'm gonna do the gills on sort of a their own layer. So if I don't like them, they're just underneath and not really a problem to deal with. Because the only thing I do struggle with this way of doing it is I have to be pretty confident that it is how I want it to go. It's hard to go back and erase stuff out. So I am I'm being confident with what I'm keeping. And I think it's also kind of a way I don't get caught up in being overly perfectionist about stuff. Because that's like the one biggest killer of motivation. 100% is just feeling like something's not coming out right or that doesn't look good. Because why? If it doesn't look good, why wouldn't you finish it? So it feels like it's not worth it, right? But even if something doesn't look great, even if it's not your favorite, even if it didn't come out how you wanted, you still learned something while you were trying it out. You still gained some experience, some insight, and next time you try to draw something, you know, you'll take what you learned from that and be able to apply it and try again. But if it's long in between when you draw, you know, you're gonna definitely struggle with like retaining what you're learning. So you need to be understanding, you know, if you're only drawing once every blue moon, you can't expect yourself to just be amazing right out of the gate. You know, you'll be stiff, you'll be rusty, and you have to give yourself that minute to kind of shake it off. But I think these are real fun. I find I started doing kind of stained glass style doodles in my notebook here and there because I really enjoy just kind of the simplicity of it. I get really caught up in detailing stuff and I love it, don't get me wrong. Give me all of the goth girls with all of the fishnetting and the studded things and the spikes and the, you know, I will draw 1,000 belt buckles by hand. I've done it before. But it's also okay to create stuff on the other end of the spectrum that isn't overly detailed. It's fun to kind of get out of that and also make stuff that's a little more loose and a little more freestyle and a little more simplified. I think gills of mushroom would come mostly from the variations in the glass. That's a really good idea. Maybe I'll try that in that big open chunk. We'll see if that works. I think that's a really good idea. Growing on a mossy log would be pretty cool too. If anybody else is drawing along with me or drawing their own mushrooms, that would be really cool. I would love to see. We should have like a draw with me stream or something. I'll draw something. We can all draw along. Instead of a sing along, it's a draw along. There, then you can't get discouraged because you'll have my smooth, creamy reassurances blasting in your eardrums the whole time. Maybe not a trendsetter, but instead a bulwark. What's a bulwark? I say trendsetter. I'm more like the cryptid. I'm like, I finally came out from under my rock. People are like, you dress like an artist. And I'm like, This is the first thing I grabbed this morning. A bulwark is a wave break. Ah. Bootsy says, I have a unicorn piece that looks stained glass, but definitely is like a vinyl on top of glass. Ooh, like a transparent vinyl. What do I want to do with this? All right, so now I'm breaking up this one. Shape is gonna, I've been drawing on this layer the whole time. Oops. Wait, does that mean it has... I can do both? Oh. Today we had a revelation on stream. I think I knew, I just forgot. It just goes to show when you get stuck doing stuff in your own ways. Sometimes you can forget there's other ways. All right. Well, that's interesting. Okay, so I have accidentally put everything on a layer. All right, I don't like that actually. All right, so see, when I joined it up here, I don't like that flow. This kind of created a point where these are two very thin pieces now, down here, down here. I don't really like how that felt. It just didn't work for me. But I erase it and I just come back up over here and I go over this way. I don't know, did that make it worse? I don't know what to do with this little blob guy at the bottom, maybe. But you just try different ways to break stuff up. It's really fun. Yeah, I like this. All right, I'm just gonna kind of clean up the inside of it a little bit. Maybe that's too teardrop shaped, but I don't know if I care. Because we're doing this digital and I can kind of do what I want. It still looks close enough. I think the only thing I don't like is maybe trim that in. So yeah. I just kind of like fidget with stuff. It's not like I look at this and go, ooh, I have a grand master idea for how this is all going to come together. Once in a while, like, I will have an idea or kind of a, something will pop and I go, ooh. All right, so just real quick, there's a really good source of variation here to point out. So we've kind of got this short guy here. Then we got a long, thick one over here. And then we got short, skinny one here. And this, I guess this one's another kind of like short shape. But we got kind of skinny shapes, thick shapes, short shapes. So it breaks it up so it's not all just the same kind of strands. And I believe we should be able to indicate with the colors what's going on with which pieces of the mushroom. I'm trying to decide if I want to give it any like design on the cap. But I think I kind of like it just smooth in one piece like that. So I'm gonna go through and I'll break this up here because this would be a hard shape to do in one piece, so it's probably something that would be snapped into a few smaller ones. I'm just trying to decide. So I kind of also try to go with like the contour of stuff. So if I go like this, it makes it look like it's kind of sloped down. So if I try to come over maybe this way, it might make it look more like it's that size. So we've got a big piece here, and then I had a long skinny piece here, but I'm gonna break it up with this little small piece, just like that. And that right there just kind of gives it some good variation. So, let's go ahead. I'm gonna merge this all so my lines are on one thing. We'll get rid of the sketch there. And then I just do my select brush. I select on the outside, and then I will flip it, and then I will shrink it in about 2 pixels or 3 depending on the size. I just want it to go inside ever so slightly so that I don't have a bleed over. And then okay, Bob Ross, you'll be, yeah, you better get your canvases out and your happy little paintbrushes. Technology, now that's a powerful cat. Yes. So we're gonna fill this in with honestly any color. I don't really care. Oh, purple, actually, yeah, let's do a purple mushroom. That sounds fun. So I'm just gonna bucket fill this in. And I'm gonna lock this layer. So everything I'm doing on top of this, I am just going to be doing on a layer that is clipped over with a masking. It's basically a masking layer so that nothing I draw will go over. So if I go like this with my pen, it'll stay inside where I've already marked off. So I'm gonna grab my good little magic wand brush again, and let's select everything in different color groups. So I'm gonna start with the stem, and I'll select everything all at once and make it its own layer. I'm gonna expand this so that I've got a little bit of extra room. And there's different ways you can do this. There's probably more efficient ways to do this than the way I do it. Why is Skuttz so angry? Calm down. What happened? You're 2 minutes behind the stream. Not too much. We're just doing the mushrooms. We're not doing mushrooms. We're drawing mushrooms. My God. Well, 2 very different meanings. All right, so I'm gonna make that, I think, a slightly lighter, maybe lighter and gray. Yeah, I like that. All right, and then we'll go up under here, and I want to do, I'm gonna grab the gills. So I'm gonna go to this layer, and I just want to grab all of these guys for now. And I go back through and add variation to the different segments later, but this step lets me kind of visualize what color I want everything. So like, I think I kind of want to do something maybe a little bit funky, do like a yellow and an orange, or maybe I can do this like a, ooh, a cayenne? No, lock the layer. Oh, that's fun. That's real fun. All right. And then what else? We have these little, I don't know actually what part of the anatomy of fungus this is, but these little foldy guys are actually one of my favorite bits. Some of them have like really like small ones, and some of them have like really big, like almost ornate ones, and they're just so fancy. I'm like, oh, look at you, you fancy little mushroom. You're so cute. We're just gonna go with some aggressively bright retro colors, that's sure. You know, rule number 1, Skuttz, do what she wants. So I thought we were gonna go with like reds and browns, but we ended up with purple. That's fine. I love it. So let's go ahead and check out a few of the options that we had then. So the one I normally do is I'll go grab, just grab the texture. Is it over here? Yes. So I'm gonna grab the texture, I'm gonna throw it over here. And then, so this you can do with just about anything. Could also try it with the wood grain and etc. But one of the things I do, and one of the things I've seen done the most, is grabbing this. And just using this. So I kind of want to maybe have, let's see, the portion under here. I kind of want this to be the lightest spot. So I'm just kind of going to place this where I like, And then we're gonna go and scoot this down so I can put a clipping layer on it. And I'm just gonna hit overlay, and immediately it is overlaid on my other pieces here, right? So it's not, I'm gonna do rasterize there. It's not showing over this pink very well. And sometimes I'll find that the colors don't overlay the best, or there might be something else going on there, but it's all good. Sometimes that segment ends up needing kind of its own thing. Ooh, so I'm gonna put this little bit of pink up there because I want that variation. And then I'm gonna go to the underside. What can I do to make this more visible? Why? Alright, so the other thing I can try to do is do like a darken or a multiply, which have varying degrees of ruining the colors you planned out. Add glow can be a little intense. Once again, it's really not working on that magenta. My goodness. That's fun. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and stick with the overlay then. And I'm just gonna try to find a way to make the pink look more visible. Or we'll try putting a different texture on that part, because not all of it has to have that look to it. So, alright. Go ahead and toggle that back off, and then what I like to do then is I'll start with the mushroom top here, and I'm just gonna select segments that are separate from each other. So I've done this one, I'm gonna skip this one. I'm gonna grab this one, I'm gonna skip this one. I don't wanna grab that one, I'm gonna grab that one. So it kind of gives me space between each of them. And I'm gonna go ahead and expand, and I'm gonna go to my purple layer, and this is where we are just going down how I do it. You can add whatever way you want to do this. I really want to try taking a few color blobs and then using the ripple effect to sort of mix it around and get that Baroque look. But I basically just take the watercolor brush. It's kind of streaky. Where's... oh, there we go. It's kind of streaky. And then sometimes I use, it's a hair detail brush that is extra streaky, like nice big chunks. So I'll just kind of go through on the different spots. So I was using a really, really harsh pink there to kind of highlight, but maybe try to go dim it down a little bit. And I just kind of want to add a little bit of variation to some of these pieces. And I like to do it in different directions, just so that it kind of contrasts against itself. So I added some of a warmer pink to those ones. And now instead I'm going to maybe go for start with this purple again. And I'm just going to bring it down into the blues a little bit over on my color slider. And I'm going to go a little bit darker. And so once again, I'm going to go up. I'm going to go ahead and select the ones I did not do before. And I'm going to expand and go back to my layer. So this keeps everything on one layer. And I don't have to mess around with it too much. But it can be really easy to like accidentally do stuff on the wrong layer. I've had that before. So it just takes some practice and making sure you're in the right spot. I'm gonna make that one just really dark and like focus on it being just mostly a bluish one. And then these ones, I'm just gonna give it a fun little streak and maybe add another little bit of the purple purpley blue back in there. So I'm just not really doing anything too crazy. I'm just basically streaking variations of color that I think blend well in a segment together. So I'm gonna do the gills now. I would like to go in with the airbrush and gonna try to do like a little gradient in the middle. Maybe. We'll see. I want it to look like it's glowing, and some of the glass definitely had some sort of gradients going to them. So I'll see if I can see what I can do. Let's grab the hard brush, not the soft brush. Oh, that's so much better. All right, so just do a little bit of that, and then let's see. We'll grab, maybe we can do a little bit of blue and yellow in here. That might be fun. Could look bad, but that's what Control-Z is for. We're playing on the computer, it's fine. If this were marker and paper, I'd be feeling way different. There would be fear in my soul, but this is digital. We have Control-Z here, and we're fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and save real quick, actually, now that I pointed that out. So how about those gills? So, yeah. Let's try this. I want to do it on this one. Try it on this one and this one. I'll do these two adjacent. You don't have to skip alternating ones. You absolutely can make some adjacent. That's part of the, I think, random nature and appeal of stained glass is it's kind of just what you think looks good. It's all about your artistic view. So let's try and see what I can do. So what happens, this is my favorite part, by the way, and this is new, I haven't done this before, but experimenting with stuff, I think, is something that is not given enough love. Like, failing is it's okay. you can fail. Your art can look bad. It's not the end of you. And digital art has Control-Z. So I want to try to do some sort of let's do some like really bold color differences there. Some light yellows and some dark blue, and then I'm gonna go to filter. Ooh, and we're gonna go to distort, and let's do ripple, twirl, or wave. I don't know what shapes they do. Let's try ripple. All right, so I've got, oh, you cannot see. Yeah, that did. Yeah? Yeah. Let's put it where you can see it. All right. So, rotation. Woo! That's kind of right. Okay, no, not too much rotation. We want enough that it looks swirly. Number of waves. Do we want more or less? Less, but enough. Radius. Do we want the radius bigger or smaller? Is it doing anything? Does the shape change anything? It's the radius in the center. Yeah. All right, let's try this. Let's do this. We'll leave the ripple here. And we're gonna go to distort and add twirl on top. Does that help? Twist. Ooh, what are we doing? Ooh! I found something. Ooh! Tension. All right, this kind of looks like the Baroque. Yeah? Yeah? Oh, what the yes! All right, so let's play with this a bit. I think I'm on to something. The radius doesn't do anything. What about the shape? Doesn't do anything. All right, so what happens if I take that and then what? Let's go filter. What happens to mosaic? Nope, not the right one. Filter, effect. No, let's try distort. What happens if we add the wave? Wow. What? The fuck? I love it. Not for this, but whoa. What trippy fucking what? That's cool. I love playing around with stuff. You always find new things. I've never had a reason to mess around with this like this before, but oh my god, how cool. I'm never gonna be able to replicate this again. It doesn't look like gills, but it looks like some mushroom stuff, so I don't know. I like this. The only issue is the two next to each other are like inseparable. Like, they look exactly the same. I like it. That's the one. That's the one. That's it. Don't touch it. All right. So now let's see. Filter and then maybe sharpen. Perlin noise. What the is that? Let's go to blur. I think I want Gaussian blur. All right. No, I did it on the wrong layer. Skuttz, why? Oh. Oh. Well, that was a whoopsie. Huh. So, here's how I keep mistakes I like and try to go back. Let's see if I can do it without messing it up. Because I really like that. I do not want to lose that. But I just realized it warped a part of my line art. So, I am going to select this line art. I'm going to copy this line art. And I'm going to confirm I have it copied by going Control V. Alright, that duplicated it. So now I hit Control V, and I undo the shit I did on the wrong layer. Yeah. Was that all of it? Yes. Alright. And then I go Control V. And I have my original ungoof version, and I was able to copy my goof version over. So, yeah. I'll just park that on top, and boop, I saved it. Tip. Tip for not messing that up. Alright, so... If I make this slightly transparent, does this... Ooh, works a bit. Does it look how I want, though? It's fun. I like it. All right, so it's one of those things where you kind of have to play around with stuff because you lose some of this texture in some places. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and hide the layer I goofed, and we're going to go ahead and just color this in one method. I almost want to play around coloring multiple ones, but we'll see. We'll see. So let's go ahead and try this again. Like, that was fun, but it wasn't quite what I wanted, so. All right, so I'm gonna grab this one and that one and that one. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to take Bootsy's suggestion there and see if we can do the gills sort of in the way that the glass is done. So let's get a few. There we go. Because theoretically, if you were picking out the pieces of glass to put in here, you could choose the points of the swirls where it kind of was in line with what the gills would be shaped like. It would be so fun to try to make like stained glass in real life. I love thinking about how it's done while I'm trying to draw it. Like, I don't have to stick to the fast and hard way of doing it because I am doing it digitally, but I love thinking about how to represent those limitations in the digital work, because like those limitations are what make it what it is. Like, stained glass wouldn't look like stained glass if it wasn't what it was. It would just look like a painting, you know? It's the fact that the glass is cut out in different shapes and then essentially wrapped in a bezel strip and then soldered to all the other pieces. Like, it's such a cool process. If you don't know how stained glass is done, I would definitely recommend checking it out. Maybe one day I will get my hands on some stuff. One day. All right. So, let's see. I've got, what do I want to do? Let's grab like a, I do like the light yellow. Yeah. I just want it to kind of like be really faint. Ooh, yes. All right. And I might leave the other pieces as they are. All right, so next, let's deal with the bottom. Do I like it this shade of purple? Or because the top is more blue, can I do more like a pink purple at the bottom? No, I like it being there. Let's grab this one and that one. I think they would look good together visually, paired out. So I will do that. And then on the stem, I just grabbed kind of like a, I guess, less saturated. No, I don't like that one. Brighter. Yeah, that's better. Just kind of mess around with it. I like that since these are bigger pieces. All right, back up here. I'm gonna grab a new piece and that piece so they maybe look like they are part of the same thing. All right, so I'm gonna color drop this and then I want to go down, but more red, warmer. I just add a little bit to that. Maybe make the back piece actually mostly that color. And then let's see. For the last one, what do I want to do? Yeah. Looks good to me. And that just leaves the problem area. The aggressively magenta fringy bits. I love them oh so much, but why? Why must the magenta be so stubborn? And since I'm zoomed in, I'm just gonna clean up those little bits that were bugging me. And let's scoop. These two look good with that one. And this, I guess, just comes with time trying to figure out like how stuff balances out and where your personal taste in those balances are at. What would be good? See if I can grab some of the purples from before. So make sure I go back to the layer I want. Does that blend it in? That makes it look the same. Nope. Alright, what if I grab some yellow then? Is that wonky? Let's try maybe doing... Oh, yes! Oh, yes, yes, yes. I like that. Ooh. Ooh. Let's do the other ones like an orange. Do those ones. Yeah. Yeah, let's try orange. Orange to yellow. Yeah, that's fine. Kind of looks like it's already lit up almost. And what do I even do for the last two? Just same thing, just mismatched areas, maybe. All right, so All right, so let's try doing those. I might just leave them magenta. I'm just gonna bring that one. No. That one up more? No. I like them where they are. So then I would put the stained glass texture over, if that's what I wanted to do. Now, say I didn't want it everywhere though. Like, I did not want it on the gills. This I just want to be the Baroque kind of texture. I would just go through and select here and decide I do not want this to look like the glass. I would go to that texture and I would just clear it. Boop. And it's not there anymore on that. So that looks more like a smooth glass when everything else is still kind of dimpled. So I think that's really interesting. And another fun one is to just add an additional layer. And I'll take like some yellow, put it in the corner and throw it on an overlay or a glow. And it kind of makes it look like it's lit. Let's see, can I make the background darker so we can get a better... Like, that looks really, really fun. I love this. So more or less, that's kind of how I go about like making things into stained glass versions. And frankly, I really want to go put this on a mug or a shirt or something. I need to draw more of these mushrooms. That's really fun. I love this. Also, I do have some updates coming to my shop soon. I'm waiting for the tests to come so I can see that the prints are the right colors and all that good stuff. But there's gonna be some more stuff coming to my shop soon. I'm excited. But yeah, I really hope that that was helpful or explained kind of how to think about making your own way of doing things. And we could absolutely apply here. Let me see, actually, the texture over here. Let's try just applying a few different textures and see what happens. So we have this. Where is the crystal texture? Is it this one? No? Where is it? I want the little guy in the corner. Where'd he go? There it is. All right, let's see if this one works. Let's just copy. And then go to my little mushroom layer, and then instead of that one, I will go ahead and add Control V. Wait. Yes, it needs to come up. I have, alright, so let me hide my texture layer, and then I'll grab this guy, just like that. Alright, so let's grab it, make it bigger, so it fits over my mushroom. And same thing, I'm just going to make sure that it is on an overlay. Yes, apply. Got it clipped, and then we can do like a multiply or a darken, or does the overlay work? So I feel like this one maybe works better if you're doing a more solid pattern. Let me do. So if I duplicate this one and I block that out, I should be able to come through here. See if it shows. So that's just the texture. Maybe the white's too bright. There we go. So that's if I just used the crystal texture. And if I wanted to make different pieces, different textures, I think that would be really fun too. So yeah, you can just kind of play around with applying different stuff. There's also the wood grain, I think would be really cool. The different ripple filters that we applied also looked really neat. So just try out different stuff and see what you like and what works for you. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this. Might be running out of pep for my stream today. My throat's doing bad, so this might be our conclusion. But we'll go ahead and we'll take a look at the commission I'm working on. So you can see how I broke down like the roses and some of the leaves, and you can see where I've taken the liberty to add more pieces than maybe some of the examples we looked at today, but this is because this image, I imagine, is a whole window and is not just like a small charm on a window. So these involve a lot more extra kind of details and bits and bobs, because I imagine they'd be that much larger and would have the space for such. There is another stained glass one here that I really like the way this one breaks the shapes up of the two characters. And they're really broken up with the colors, the beige and the oh my god, I've said cyan. Is it cayenne? I get thrown into an existential crisis every time. I just got to go look up how that is pronounced. Is cayenne the pepper and cyan the color? Am I crazy? I don't know. Tune in next time when I have answered that question. So more or less, yeah, let me see if I can find, I've got maybe one more somewhere here. I just have to check what year I did it. I love how I gathered all of these other examples, but not these ones. This is one where I really used kind of the variation between open areas to kind of make this character the main figure, and I left a lot of the more detailed stuff around the edges, and I will have to see when I start to add some of the color, but I do feel like I did a better job on that one than I'm doing on this one, and they're supposed to be sort of partnered. These are paired images. I'm trying to make them echo each other, and I think they're doing okay, but I will have to see when they're done if they still look like a set. And the other stained glass examples I have are definitely a bit older, but it's been something I've enjoyed doing for a long time. Although, let me see, actually, the other ones I did were really interesting. Was it in 2015? No, 2016. Stained glass, yes, all right. So I did this one in 2016, and this was with my left hand, because at the time my right hand was struggling post car wreck. So I actually used the fact that stained glass is much more simplified than my usual drawing style to kind of help me find a different way to draw in the time when I had to use my less skilled hand. So it's kind of neat to see what I did left-handed, and I don't think I really used that many. I don't think I had that much help from stabilizers. Look at my poor shaky lines. But if you don't zoom in, you don't notice. And when I say I drew that with my non-dominant hand, then you're like, whoa. So, you know, I really, really love seeing this older version and then taking a look at kind of the more recent takes I've had on the stained glass. So I'm gonna wrap it so I save my throat tonight, and I'm gonna go ahead and duck off. But I really hope that this was a helpful stream for anyone who was curious about the way I go about creating my kind of stained glass digital art. It's one of my favorite things, and you know me, I just want to share art with the world. So if this helps anybody, like, smack the like button so I know to do more like this, you know? Give me the feedback so I know what you'd like to see. Because I love streaming and I love passing along whatever I've learned along my journey. So, cayenne is the pepper, cyan is a blue, but is it said cyan? I know they're two different things, but it's the pronunciation. You know what? Let's conclude the stream with me finally finding this out. How do you pronounce it, though? It's cyan. Really? So I have it. Cayenne is the pepper and cyan is the blue. You learned stained glass digital art, and you learned a little factoid, in case everybody else probably already knew. I was late to the party, but thanks for joining. Oh, it's fabulous as always. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. You have no idea. Everybody take care, have a good one, and I'll see you next time. I'll try to keep all the gremlin energy in check. Take care. Bye.